There comes a point in every connection where the rhythm changes. The conversations that once flowed endlessly start to fade. The person who used to text first, share everything, or call just to hear your voice suddenly becomes distant. When someone talks less than before, it's rarely because they've run out of words. It's often because something inside them has changed. Sometimes, silence speaks louder than any sentence ever could. When people begin to withdraw, it's usually a reflection of how they feel, not just about you, but about themselves. Maybe they're carrying something heavy, something they can't explain. Or maybe they've started to see that the energy they give isn't being returned. People don't always announce when they're tired. Sometimes they just go quiet. In relationships, communication is the heartbeat. When that pulse slows down, it's a signal that something has shifted emotionally. Maybe they feel misunderstood. Maybe they're hurt. Or maybe they've learned that no matter how much they explain themselves, you won't see things the way they do. When people stop talking, it's often because they've already said everything they needed to and nothing changed. There's another layer too. Some people pull back because they want to protect their peace. They've realized that constantly talking, explaining, and defending their feelings drains them. Silence becomes their form of self-care. Instead of arguing, they retreat. Instead of proving their worth, they let their absence do the talking. It's not that they don't care anymore. It's that they've accepted that caring alone won't fix things. Psychologically, people also tend to talk less when they feel emotionally unsafe. If every word they say is met with criticism, sarcasm, or indifference, they start to filter themselves. They become careful. Their once open heart starts walking on eggshells. They learn to say less because saying more doesn't lead to understanding, it leads to conflict. Silence becomes their armor. And then there are those who stop talking because they've lost interest. When the excitement fades, when the emotional connection weakens, the effort to communicate fades too. This kind of silence is subtle. It's not angry or dramatic. It's quiet and cold. You'll feel it in the small pauses, the shorter replies, the lack of follow-up questions. They're not curious about your day anymore, not because they hate you, but because their mind is somewhere else. However, not every silence is a sign of disconnection. Sometimes people talk less because they're growing, evolving, or reflecting. They may be processing emotions or healing wounds they haven't shared yet. In psychology, this is called emotional withdrawal for self-regulation, a natural coping mechanism that allows people to restore balance when life feels too loud. When this happens, the best thing you can do is give them space without taking it personally. But here's what most people miss. When someone reduces their words, it doesn't always mean they're gone. It means they're communicating differently. Their silence might be saying, "I'm exhausted," or "I wish you'd notice." In relationships, we often mistake quiet for indifference, but quiet can also mean, "I'm hoping you'll care enough to ask." It takes emotional maturity to realize that not every silence is rejection. Some silences are invitations to listen deeper, to notice more, to reconnect without demanding explanations. A person who once shared everything with you probably still has those thoughts inside them. They just no longer feel safe enough to voice them. If someone close to you starts talking less, ask yourself, have you been listening or just waiting to reply? Have you been present or distracted? Have you been kind or defensive? Because sometimes people stop talking when they feel unseen. Their silence becomes a mirror, showing you how much your behavior affects the space between you. In love and friendship, consistency matters more than intensity. It's easy to talk for hours when everything feels right. But the true test of connection is how you communicate when things feel off. Do you reach out or retreat? Do you assume the worst or ask what's wrong? A relationship built on genuine care will always find its way back to conversation. But one built on ego and assumptions will drown in unspoken words. When someone talks less than before, it's not just about communication, it's about emotional energy. Every message, every call, every conversation takes effort. And people only invest that effort where they feel it's valued. If they feel taken for granted, dismissed, or unheard, they'll stop giving that energy. They'll still be around, but emotionally, they'll start checking out. You can feel it in the tone, the timing, the little gaps between their responses. The spark that once existed in their words starts to fade. They start saying, "I'm fine," instead of explaining what's wrong. They start replying with emojis instead of sentences. It's a slow fade, not an explosion, but an emotional drift. If this is happening to you, don't panic. Instead, pause. Reflect. Ask yourself if there's something unspoken between you two. Sometimes, all it takes to reopen that door is a small act of honesty. "I've noticed you've been quiet lately. Are you okay?" Genuine curiosity can break walls that assumptions build. At the same time, understand that not everyone who goes quiet is meant to stay in your life. Some people's silence is their way of saying goodbye. They won't explain, argue, or justify. They'll simply fade out. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that silence is your closure because deep down you already knew the connection wasn't the same anymore. In the end, the way someone communicates reflects what they feel inside. Talking less can mean they're protecting their emotions, healing from disappointment, or simply losing attachment. Either way, their silence has meaning. Psychologically, silence can be both a weapon and a wound. It can hurt you, or it can heal you. The key is to know the difference. When silence comes from peace, it feels calm. When it comes from pain, it feels cold. Learn to sense the energy behind the quiet. If you truly care, don't chase them. Reach out with empathy. If you've done your part and they still stay silent, let it be. Sometimes, silence is the final word, and forcing a conversation only creates noise. Respect their distance, and focus on your own peace. Because one of the hardest truths in psychology is this: people don't always tell you when they've changed their mind, their feelings, or their heart. They just start speaking less.